The only reason we have such crazy levels of depression, which is just low dopamine, is because we're doing it backwards. We're rewarding inactivity, which means we're going to just get more inactivity and more depression.
Welcome to OTR, Over the Rainbow, Achieving Mental Health for Real. This podcast offers hope to many people who needlessly suffer from mental health issues. Your host, Bob Adelman, brings you information on how you can recover from any mental health issue and achieve a happier life. If you want to know more, please check out his trailer. Bob's notes on today's show follows.
Today's guest, Andy Y. West, helps us unpack what dopamine really is and how it quietly shapes our behavior. This isn't an episode about hacks in the trendy sense. It's about recognizing how we already manipulate our brain chemistry, often without realizing it, and how we can start doing it with more care, more intention, and far less collateral damage. Andy Y. West is the author of Dopamine Mountain, Overhaul Dopamine, Energy and Mindset, Fast. The books explore how we often manipulate our brain's reward system through chaos, compulsion, or emotional intensity, without even realizing it. Andy Y. West shows us how to replace those patterns with a grounded, sustainable approach to dopamine, one built on deliberate challenge, mindful reward, and the kind of effort that actually restores balance.
Now, here's Bob with today's show.
Hello and welcome to OTR, Andy. How are you?
Really well today. How about you?
I'm doing good. We have a very good show coming up. Could you tell the listener a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I'm an author, but that came about in a strange set of circumstances. I didn't set out to become an author, but skipping back a little bit, early on, I had a bit of a rough childhood in that I was bullied, had very low self-esteem, low self-worth. I was a drug user in my late teens, early 20s. I was depressed, suicidal, and did not really like myself at all. Of course, now that I do, because I've sort of come full circle. So I read a number of books that helped me to just develop my self-esteem and my self-worth, and then I was great for a while. I thought everything's fine. I've fixed myself. I did a lot of releasing of old negative emotions, books from people like Louise L. Hay and Eckhart Tolle. So that was great. And I thought, all right, I know how to live my life. I'm going to be fine now. Well, little did I know that when I was 40, so I'm mid-40s now, during COVID, I had what we assume was long COVID. So I got sick very early 2020, flu symptoms. There wasn't even a test you could have for COVID at the time. But what happened was there was lockdowns. I had panic attacks. I had what turned out to be a drug-induced psychosis, but I didn't realize at the time. So yeah, everything in my life kind of collapsed during early COVID, and I was having relationship problems.
You took my question away from me. I always ask, how was your childhood? And it sounds like your childhood wasn't that good. I didn't enjoy it. Although there was times that I had a great time, and there was many amazing and wonderful times, but I had this undercurrent of self-loathing, I suppose you would say. Yeah. And I know that you asked people about their childhood, so I just went right ahead and dove into that. That's good. Yeah, I just think childhood is really important as far as developing a person and how they grow up and who their parents and guardians are. Mm-hmm. I weigh that heavily on how the person turns out. Did you have trouble with your parents at all, or they were okay?
I didn't get along very well with my dad. He was very authoritarian, strict, and bully-like. So, and my parents had an on-off relationship in that they were together, but there was many shaky times where they weren't together for a little bit. And so it was, I felt instability, I suppose, during that time, and I didn't really like or trust my dad. Although I know he was doing the best he could, to be honest. He was a troubled soul. He still is a troubled soul, really. He was doing the best he could. So, yeah, so I struggled a lot, and I did not trust people, and I didn't trust myself, which is an interesting thing that I now do trust myself. Yeah, so then when I was having this sort of long COVID experience, I really had some sort of what I call a mental breakdance, because
Right.
it was a very crazy time and I did not know what was going on. I had fatigue, I had cognitive dysfunction, all the symptoms of ADHD, the inattentive type, where I could not focus, I could not do simple tasks. I had skill regression. I would stare at a wall for seemingly days, not knowing how to get up, not knowing even how to have a rational thought.
I can relate to all of that. I had very similar issues, and I went the route of medication because I was in a state where I just couldn't even be in my own skin. I was just totally messed up, and I knew my parents had it, but they were World War II people and they didn't think anything about mental health at all.
Mm.
So there I was with ADHD, OCD, all these different problems and no solutions. So I did go the medical route. I know you are someone that's not doing that. You'd rather do it naturally. Can you tell us about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so the stimulant medication for ADHD did work for me. I felt calm. I felt like I could think. I felt, sudden mental clarity and everything was fine. Although I didn't have a prescription for that because I didn't get an actual diagnosis. So I didn't really so one of the things I was addicted to when I was in my early 20s was amphetamine.
Oh boy.
And so I didn't really want to have too much more amphetamine, even though now I don't feel that same pull towards things, because what addiction actually turns out to be, it's a state of low dopamine.
Yes.
And so we're trying to fill that dopamine hole with an external substance. So when we have low mood, it's low dopamine. They're the same thing. Mood and dopamine are the same thing. And it's the dopamine reward system. So in a nutshell, when our dopamine is rising, we're feeling better. And when it's dropping, we're feeling worse. And many things can raise and lower our dopamine. Now, drugs can obviously do that, but there are ways that I've found through my research and my own personal experience that we can raise our dopamine internally. And it's extremely simple, but not necessarily easy to do. So instead of raising our dopamine from a drug or from, an experience or something we want. So dopamine is what we want and crave. Like it might be gambling, it could be porn, it could be gaming, it could be a substance, even coffee and sugar. But here's the trick. There's two main ways to raise our dopamine. So one is with those external things we want and crave. Now, those external things, when we use those, it might be a drug, a drink, whatever, then our dopamine will rise, but the body goes, oh, well, I don't need to make my own dopamine now. And so we become reliant on that thing. And next time we need more because the body goes, well, I'm not making it. I'll just get it this easy way, this easy and fast way.
Right.
The caffeine, the porn, the
sugar.
Gaming, the sugar, whatever it is we want. So here's the amazing thing, which is backed up by research. We can actually raise our dopamine by ironically dropping it first. Now, this if anyone's done a dopamine detox, they will know what this is about. Now, a dopamine detox is not pseudoscience. It's actually, there's proven studies in monkeys that the more we delay our gratification, we allow dopamine to rise while we are waiting. And so that means that when we finally do have the thing that we wanted, it will be a bigger rise because we've had to wait and wait and wait. So it becomes more of a more substantial rise in dopamine. So what we can do is deliberately drop our dopamine first thing in the morning with hard and difficult tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a workout first thing in the morning, a dopamine detox, a cold shower, something that we really don't like and don't want. And then just from the relief of that stopping, our dopamine will actually rise naturally on its own. And then if we give ourselves a reward, so we wait after we do the hard thing and then we have our breakfast or our coffee or whatever, we allow dopamine to supercharge because we've pushed it down we've let it rise, and then we've boosted it with a rewarding rise. Now, when people start to do the order of effort and then reward and then a mini rest, they actually start to jumpstart and cycle their dopamine in a fresh new way. And it takes a few reps, just like building muscle.
Mm-hmm.
But doing this kickstarts our natural dopamine into gear, so we have much more of it available. So for myself, doing this changed my absolute life. I was on my last brain cell, it felt like. And after a few weeks of doing this in the right order, it has to be effort first, then reward,
Right.
and then rest. Amazing changes in my focus. Like, all of my dopamine system came back online. I thought I was going to die from dementia. It was so extreme.
Wow.
And because this worked for me, I said I have to write a book about this and research why it works, so that people feel that there is a way forward out of this, strange brain foggy land of low dopamine.
And what happens to a lot of people is they try to produce dopamine without even knowing they're doing it. They create trauma in their lives. People exist in a fright or fight mode, and so they go and they get all excited. Then the dopamine flows a little, and then it drops. And then on the weekends, they're in bad shape. They need to recover. Like, I couldn't even get up on weekends. I was sleeping the whole time. And I think there's a lot of people that don't really realize what they're doing is producing like the dopamine. I know I heard you talk about animals. I know I saw a documentary about a mouse who they took the dopamine out of his brain, all of it. And he wouldn't even get up to get the cheese, which was right next to him, like a foot away.
See, it was millimeters that it would not move, even though the food was there. And that is because dopamine doesn't just represent our drive and our energy. It is our drive and energy. So if we've chemically depleted that, we cannot move forward. It's not that we don't want to or we don't think we can. We just don't have the chemical mechanism for forward movement. However, if that mouse waits long enough and it starts to go into starvation, its dopamine will drop so low that
They'll die.
Yes, they will die, and animals die without dopamine. And so the thing is, right, we have neuroplasticity, and that means we have a learning system in the brain, and it's very closely tied to our dopamine system. And that is because when we do something and we get dopamine, just say we climb a tree and we get a nice apple, we eat the apple, we get some dopamine and another neurotransmitter called GABA, which is the feeling good chemical. And then that little bit of energy goes, oh, yes, I've learned that this pays off. This is great, and I'll do it again. So that's why dopamine is tied into our learning system, because it reinforces the things that raise our dopamine and give us energy. So anyone in any state can actually use dopamine to their advantage by doing a deliberately hard and challenging thing. Now, for some people, that's moving their hand slightly closer to the edge of the bed. It doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to be a challenge. And then the trick is to reward that challenge and reward the success. So when you've made that movement, you've actually grown new synapses, and that is success. We grow the brain every time we do a challenging thing, but we have to reward ourselves, at least mentally, and say, excellent, you're on the right track, now do it again. And each time we get a successful movement, we need to reward that and spur ourselves on, and that will give us more energy to do more of it. But if we say to ourselves, I'm still in bed, why am I such a failure? Well, no, that's not going to help your dopamine system. It's a success system. So GABA, the other neurotransmitter of liking and success, says, yes, that worked, let's do it again. But if you're just trying something and it feels like it's not working, why would you try again? We have to have feedback that, yes, we are moving, we are in motion. And there's an opposite chemical to dopamine called glutamate. So I think of it like the arch nemesis of dopamine. So glutamate is when we're in that fight or flight mode. running away, aversion, withdrawal, and negative emotions. All of that, and fear and pain, all of that is controlled not by dopamine, by its opposite, which is glutamate. So if we've had a lot of trauma in our life, we are storing up excess glutamate, because trauma, if it's not actually expressed and dealt with in a forward-moving and brave way. So, for example, we have something very horrible happen to us, which most of us have had, but some people have had some really traumatic experiences. The way to process that isn't to not think about it or to close off. It's to go towards, because we use dopamine every time we go forward, to explore and name those feelings. So we might have feelings of anger or disgust or betrayal. You know, we might experience frustration and pain, and we need to write them down or name them and really go towards them, explore them and feel them, because they cannot hurt us when we're the one going towards. But when we withdraw, so the chemical of withdrawal is that one I mentioned, glutamate. If we run away, we say no, we say I'm too scared for this, we're just adding more glutamate to the system instead of using dopamine. So everything that we shy away from or bottle up is actually just making more glutamate, which is more trauma. So to move forwards out of these situations, you'll find that the people who have really had the most growth are the ones who were brave enough to say, I'm going to remember this, I'm going to write it down to get it out of the head, or I'm going to express it to somebody or myself, and really to be brave enough to sit in those emotions, which are really hard to do, but that's why it grows the brain.
We always talk about fear and how fear goes away if you ignore it. So if you say it's here, can't do anything about it, just let it go by, then fear kind of says, well, I can't do anything here, and it kind of goes away. So it's not intuitive, like you would think you should run away from it. But it's really kind of the opposite, where you should run towards it, like you're saying. And then, lo and behold, if you live with it, then you're good. I mean, if you can face your fears and come out like the other side, then that's what it's about. I read a part of your book, and right away I went and cleaned my bathroom. And it was a morning, I just went there and I cleaned it. And it did make a difference. I mean, after that, I got something that I like to eat, and it made it a better day. So the name of your book is what now?
So my most recent one is Planet Dopamine. And so it's designed to be short, accessible, and really easy to read. But my original book was quite long and had a lot of science in it, and that was called Dopamine Mountain. So I think Planet Dopamine is a good one, especially for people with ADHD to start with, because it's accessible, it's actionable, and it explains what's going on and how we can do things like you did and actually take on a challenge and do something different and grow the brain. So when you did that, you grew new synapses, and the reward of having that nice clean bathroom, would have boosted your dopamine a little bit, and you would have gone, oh, next time I want a clean bathroom, I'm going to do this again to feel good about, my actions.
And every time after that, when I go into the bathroom, it's so much nicer. So, I mean, if you do something in the morning, it really helps. I've tried it, but I got to do more of it, I think.
So when we do it first thing in the morning, here's the crazy trick that I started to use, and it really does work. If I do my hardest thing first thing in the morning, the rest of the day is easy. That's because dopamine is on a relative scale. So if I make my morning deliberately hard, so every morning I go for a run and I make it hard but not extreme. We don't want to get into extreme because then we'll get burnout. So if it's hard for us, excellent. And then relatively, the rest of my day is much easier than that run. So I have energy and confidence to do whatever comes up in my day, because I know it's not going to be as hard as that run most of the time.
I mean, it was a great discovery on your part, because it really ties into everything that we talk about as well on the show, that you really have to work on your depression. You can't just sit there, lay down, and give up or whatever. You have to get up and try different things. And this is just another book that you could pick up and read about how you can help yourself with dopamine, control over the dopamine, instead of controlling it in different ways, like through trauma, through drinking, through all different things that people do. I think most people have some kind of issue that they really need to resolve, and would make their life so much better and so much easier. There was one thing I wanted to ask you about. You say that doctors rarely fix depression. Can you go into that a little bit more? 'Cause I think that's interesting.
So when we are medicated for depression, we're often given something like an SSRI, which is making serotonin and dopamine hang around in the system long enough for us to access it. So it's still an external source of dopamine. It's reliant on the pill or the medication. So when we take control of our dopamine and we start to master it, we can still use the medication, but we can get so much more natural dopamine by deliberately, the first thing in the morning, doing a really hard thing, because that pushes the dopamine down and then it can rise afterwards. So one way I think about dopamine is like a helium balloon. Now, the only time it's feeling good is when dopamine is actively rising. But if we stack too many things in the morning that are pleasurable, so it might be caffeine, sugar, scrolling, gambling or whatever we do on our phones, then the dopamine can't rise above a certain amount. There's only so many dopamine receptors, and that dopamine balloon will just hit a false ceiling and it will get stuck and it will stagnate. And most people think, well, I'll try and add pleasure because I don't feel good. I feel so stuck. But what they need to do is to pull that helium balloon down with effort. So they tend to stack too many dopamine rewards instead of doing hard challenge. So we need to find any hard challenge and then give ourselves a mental reward. So even if it's brushing our teeth in the morning, know that that is growing your brain because you are doing a challenge, and it's activating dopamine because dopamine is the chemical of forward movement and movement. Okay. So when you decide to do a hard thing, even if it's just get up, okay? So you get up and then you have to give yourself some form of reward, whether it be well done, success, or whether it be having some, a coffee or something that you want. Now, don't always reward everything if you can get away with it. So do a couple of things, like maybe brush your teeth and then you might have 5 minutes on Netflix or something, but always do reward first, your effort first and then reward it. Because when people tell us to break down a big, difficult task into little manageable steps, they never tell us to reward each step.
Right.
And we need those little rewards. The brain needs a dopamine reward because that is what says, yes, success, let's keep moving. If we get no dopamine reward after our effort, we will feel like a failure. We'll feel like this doesn't get me anywhere. And so we have to put in effort first to get the dopamine reward system working. And so with the drug that you were taking, that gave you enough dopamine for you to have a bit of a jump start. And for some people, they might need even more than that. And so what we can do if we are taking a drug that is a dopamine or serotonin enhancing drug, we could start to step down obviously with a doctor's supervision. We could find out a way to step that down while using natural dopamine enhancing hacks like these ones. That would be one way to sort of titrate off that dose if we wanted to. And in my opinion, it's much better to be self-reliant than to be drug-reliant.
Sure.
But obviously everyone is free to make up their own choice how they'd like to do this and experiment with their own nervous system, because the dopamine reward system is also our nervous system. And so if someone is feeling stuck or meh or blah or what's the point, you are an important part of humanity. Every person is equal in their potential to teach others, to learn, to grow, to contribute love, and self-worth to society. You're worth a lot more than you think.
Everybody's important. Everybody beats the odds to get here.
That's right.
The odds of being born are like 1 trillion billion to 1. So you beat the odds, you're here. Let's get up and do something, because there are a lot of methods, not just this one, that can help you. You just have to take that first couple of steps, like you said, brush your teeth, and then, have something that's ice cream or something. It's just common sense in a way, but I think people have issues because they see all the different things they can have. Oh, I'll have this and that and the other thing. And then now I'm going to watch TV for 5 hours.
Yes, and they don't realize that doing everything that we want and skipping out the things we don't want is destroying the dopamine system. So if we wake up and have everything we want, the brain says, but why do I need to work for my dopamine? I get it for free. I get it instantaneously. So now the brain forgets how to do action. It actually overwrites the old synapses of how to initiate action. We need to learn them again. We actually need to teach ourselves to get out of bed and brush our teeth again. Then we give ourselves some kind of small reward. So with rewards, I do not eat sugar in my day, except for if I'm doing a reward for something hard. Then I will have 1 Skittle or maybe 2 Skittles if it's a hard thing, because sugar acts like a drug of abuse in our brain. It throws our dopamine up, down, sideways like a roller coaster. I don't recommend anyone eat sugar except as a reward, only because it's terrible for dopamine. Like if we wake up and eat something sugary, so we've rewarded inaction. So here's another interesting thing. If you reward inactivity with something pleasurable, you get more inactivity. That's how the brain works. But if you reward action, the brain wants to do more action to get its reward. So never reward inactivity. If you want something sweet or something rewarding, just do some squats first. Do a hard thing first and then earn it. And that's also how I motivate myself. I say, all right, I've got this hard thing to do. I'll spend maybe 20 minutes on it and then I'll have a Skittle. So I do that, I get my Skittle, and then I feel like rewarded. Okay, I'll do an hour and then I'll have another Skittle. So that's how I spur myself on. It's like a carrot and a stick situation. But, if there's no carrot dangling there, if I've got no reward waiting for me, why would I do the hard thing?
Exactly. But a lot of people substitute it with negative things like yelling a lot or, again, taking some kind of alcohol or drug. So I think part of the problem is that people don't understand that they need help. They don't think they need help. And it's hard to get across to certain people that these methods that we talk about on the show here, they actually work. I mean, you're living proof.
Yeah.
I got the medication. Maybe I cheated a little, but I actually think I needed it because I was born into a family of depressed people and we got depression. So I always say, look, if it doesn't work, maybe try to look at medication, because if you think about medication, it's the same as if you have a heart problem. You're not going to hesitate to take something to fix your heart. But when it comes to the brain, it's this, I think, stigma that's out there that if you're taking medicine for the brain, that means you're weak.
No.
And that I don't buy into. I mean, if you would tell me that, oh, yeah, you're weak because you take the medicine, I don't believe it. I think you have to have the combination of medicine and something that you even, I had a guy on the show last week who's meditation. Does meditation fit into this puzzle?
Yeah. So when we do meditation, we are delaying gratification and we're being comfortable in boredom. So boredom is just another low dopamine state, just like depression is, anxiety is. Most mental health problems are a low dopamine state. And when we do meditation, we enhance that neurotransmitter called GABA, which controls success and liking and relaxation, amongst other things. It even controls empathy, they've found out through studies, which is really interesting. Yeah, so when we meditate, we actually allow ourselves to delay gratification. So we're not going and eating ice cream, we're sitting quietly, we're allowing ourselves to be bored, we're allowing ourselves to feel the feelings and not run from them. We're actually going towards them and we're saying, yes, I am here. Right. I'm going to feel my breath. I'm going to feel the sensations in my body, and they're not always positive ones. We might have some shaking in the fingertips, or we might have a fast heart rate, but we sit there and we say, I am fine. I'm going to feel this. I'm going to go into it and master it instead of running from it. And so every time we do that, we're doing a difficult thing. So that's pushing dopamine down a bit. So then when we end, it will rise. And also every time we allow ourselves to be comfortable in boredom and not just go and binge Netflix or whatever it is, we delay that gratification. And so we're basically pulling the dopamine balloon down so that it may actually get a rise afterwards. So meditation does enhance GABA. They've proven this in studies. And other things that enhance GABA. So GABA is extremely important. It goes hand in hand with dopamine. They work together. So we need GABA, and so we can do slow nasal breathing. That will enhance it. Yoga enhances it. And relaxation does as well. And GABA, being a relaxation chemical, is very important for sleep. So if we do these things before bed and we dim the lights and we make a relaxing environment before bed, that will give us maximum chance of getting some quality sleep at night, which is also really important. But if we wake up and we haven't slept well, don't count the hours. Don't worry about how well you slept or you didn't sleep. Just go, okay, I'm feeling tired. However, do some vigorous exercise first thing in the morning, and that will help to reset dopamine so you'll get a better sleep the next night. Every time I have a bad sleep, I don't care. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work out a bit harder. And so I do my first thing in the morning, I run a little bit harder, but not extreme. Don't go extreme because you don't want burnout. And then it helps me to catch up on sleep the next night. So when I started running, I was in fatigue. So it was a walk. It wasn't even a run. I would just get up and do a hard walk and then maybe add a little bit of a jog if I could. And slowly over the year and a half, it built up to me doing sprints in there and doing a jog. I'd mix it up a bit and just make sure it was hard but not extreme. So people who get burnout, they're not giving themselves the reward. People who get burnout, they work and, strive and do all this hard stuff, and they don't reward themselves enough, and then they burn out. So and this can happen with people with ADHD as well, they need to, when they do the hard work, remember to have a reward afterwards. Because with ADHD, the reason that we can do the stuff we want, but we cannot do the stuff we don't want to do, is because the stuff we want has built-in dopamine. It's already activating our dopamine reward system. But the stuff we don't like to do, of course we can't do it because there's no dopamine there.
Right. We lack the ability to even do something that may be easy, but we just don't have the right chemicals floating around, and we just can't do it, and then we give up on it. And we go and do something that we really like to do, and we overdo it with super focusing and everything. We overdo it sometimes. I mean, I go hours without eating and, just into the computer for hours. That's not good. I have to learn to take some breaks and eat something. And so I think a lot of the issue is not, will your method work? But the issue is, will the person be able to understand what your method is in a sense that they can do it? In other words, like I think of this and then I just, I thought of the bathroom, but is there like something that, let's say you're really bad off, you're saying just brush your teeth and that's going to be helpful to you? Or is there a way to get started? I guess I'm getting at, because, you picture these people and they're, just lying in bed all day and they don't want to do anything. How do you motivate yourself to just get started and do something for yourself?
Even if you can only move your hand 1 millimeter closer or 1 inch closer to the side of the bed, take on that challenge, move it, and then say, yes, I succeeded, and go again. Because every time we do something challenging, we actually grow synapses in the brain. So you are successful. You did something forward moving because that activates dopamine. Every time we put it off, we say too hard, we don't challenge ourselves, then we actually shrink the brain. Now you can grow, even if you're doing a leg plank in bed, like holding one leg up until, a mini exercise until it hurts, you've just dropped your dopamine and then it's going to rise afterwards. So do the hard, challenging thing, any small thing, and then know that you've grown the brain and then repeat it. So you can start moving if you have that mindset of growth. So Growth Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck, it has been shown that when we take on a challenge by choice, completely different neurotransmitters are activated than when we're forced to do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So no one is forcing you to get out of bed. It doesn't matter to me what you do. I would love it if you took the challenge and you chose to raise yourself up to do something hard and then to reward yourself, because that cycle will jumpstart your dopamine. Now, if you're really, really stuck, I would say go get in a freezing shower, because you need to shock yourself a little bit. You need to push that dopamine down a lot, not just a bit. If you can get up, get in a freezing cold shower, as long as you can tolerate it. Don't be crazy. If it's, don't get hypothermia. So maybe a minute to 2 minutes, right. Okay? That's a safe amount of time to be in freezing water. I've done a 2-minute freezing plunge before. And then have a really nice, warm, relaxing shower with enjoyable, body soaps and things, nice scents, have a really nice shower, get really nice and clean, and then have a coffee with sugar in it. Now, what I'm saying here is this is a dopamine jump start. This is for people with extreme dopamine stuckness, okay? Because what we're doing is taking dopamine really low, and then we're taking dopamine really high straight away afterwards. And it's like jump starting a car or a battery. We need an extreme low first and then high. Never do it the other way around. Don't do high first, it won't work. So push. This is for people with anhedonia and depression, which I had. And so that is a kind of one-off jump start. And after you've done that, you will feel GABA rise and dopamine rise. You'll feel something enjoyable, because people with anhedonia can't really feel pleasure and drive. It's flatlined. The balloon has been stuck for so long, it feels like a flatlining situation. But so do the jump start and then cycle through effort first and then reward. Never stack 2 rewards in a row. We need to, it's like a wave. It has to go up and down first. It has to go down and then it has to rise.
It's the changing in dopamine that matters. It's changing.
Yeah.
There's a delta.
It is. It's exactly right. It's the change from low to high. It has to go low first. So get as low as you can.
It's such a different way to look at things that, it's like it was right in front of your eyes. That's amazing that you discovered this and that you stuck with it and it works. So it's not, what? It doesn't, the book's not expensive. A cup of coffee. And guess what? There's nothing else you have to buy. It's all on you. Yeah. And that's important.
And just listen to this podcast a few times, record it, download it. If you want a reminder, listen to this now and then, because we're all on your side. You can do this. I've done it. You can do it too. Now, can I just quickly say another thing about focus?
Go ahead.
I just remembered I haven't really talked about focus. So after I did this protocol, it only took a few weeks to start working, completely changed my life. I would get up, I would run, then I would have a cold shower, and then I would sit down to write my book, my first book, because I knew, okay, this is working. I have to write this down. So I would set a 2-hour timer and then make sure I had a reward afterwards. And on that 2-hour timer, I would just type and write and edit and just do whatever I sort of thought I need to do to write this book. And I wasn't even a writer. But making myself focus for 2 hours, that pushed my dopamine down a lot, and then I would get a reward. So it taught me to focus. And my focus went from like a 1 second goldfish focus where I couldn't even remember what I was leaving the room for,
Right.
to actually being someone, because I used neuroplasticity to learn focus. I forced myself to learn how to focus. And then I noticed that I could just effortlessly organize things where I couldn't do that before. I would walk into my kitchen, and previously I would think, how do I clean? Like, how do I tidy? I can't even remember what to do. I'd pick things up and then go, where do they go? What's happening? But then I would just walk into the kitchen after forcing myself to learn focus, and I'd put this away, put that away, tidy that, clean that, and effortlessly I could organize, and it was absolutely amazing. The relief I felt knowing that I wasn't crazy, I wasn't stupid, I wasn't disabled, because I could hardly work. I couldn't focus on things. I couldn't seemingly learn. And now I've learned so much. So neuroplasticity, teach yourself to focus and you will focus. Just reward it and keep going. And it's amazing.
There's a lot of techniques on how to feel better and things like that. Some of them work, some of them don't. But I would back this way in a second, because it makes a lot of sense. People don't realize what they're doing. They don't realize that yelling gets them the dopamine they want. That getting nervous, like I do, I get nervous about everything. That gets me the dopamine that I want. But this is the wrong way to do it. You shouldn't have to get nervous or yell or just be really sad or in some kind of trauma.
Yeah.
There are people that create trauma for themselves all day long.
Yeah.
And there are people that actually cut themselves.
Yep.
And try to get that adrenaline. Wrong. Let's not do that. Let's do it the other way, like you're saying, where you control it and you can have fun. Like when you talked about the focus, I'm like, really? Because I'm old and I go in the next room and I have no idea what I'm doing there. And even on a computer, I'll go to the next screen and I'll be like, what the heck? What's going on?
I hear you.
I'm in a fog. It's just, I'm all fogged up and I don't know what to do about it other than, okay, exercise.
Well,
but this technique could really help.
Yeah. Well, ADHD is characterized by a lack of attention. It's attention deficit. So if we deliberately enhance our attention by making ourselves focus and then rewarding it afterwards. So even set a 5-minute timer and go, I'm going to focus on anything, and then reward it. And then go to a 10-minute timer and make sure you reward it. You will enhance your focus, because that's how neuroplasticity works. Anything we practice, we can change. Now, here's 2 interesting things: cutting and anxiety. People who self-harm, in my first book, I explored this and found that what is happening is they are dropping their dopamine, like the dopamine balloon. They drop their dopamine, and then when the pain stops, then it rises. So they've got an instantaneous, tricky way to drop their dopamine.
Yeah. And the adrenaline also flows, and that's the other part of it.
Yes, that's right, because adrenaline and dopamine are very, very closely related chemically.
So many children today that are harming themselves. Almost every younger person I talk to on here, I ask them, did you ever harm yourself in any way? And they'll be like, yeah, I did one time.
I did too. Because we learn that it's one way to drop the dopamine and then it will rise afterwards. But they don't understand that that's what's going on. It's just getting rewarded when the dopamine goes up. So they do it again. Like, that's what reward is. Anytime dopamine goes up, it's rewarding. So we repeat the behavior.
And I just want to make it so people today have all these different ways, meditation, the dopamine that you're saying, and even meditation if they need it. But don't sit there and be depressed all day. We know how hard life is and all of that, but try to think about something that's positive in your life, something that happened to you, that what made you love somebody, or any kind of feeling that isn't a crappy feeling. Yeah. Hold on to that and try to go there with it, because, people look at me sometimes like, I say I have mental illness, and they're like, okay, you're weird. We're not going to talk to you. That has to stop.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We somehow need to be able to be mature, take the problem like it is, realize what you're doing wrong, like yelling maybe, and stop it, So I think this method is worth a try.
Yeah.
I mean, I am trying it.
Well, almost everyone goes through some form of mental illness at some point in their life. So stigmatizing it is just silly. We need to basically understand that it's all just low dopamine. Now, if our dopamine is low, don't worry, push it lower and then you'll get a rise. Like, you can author this with action. Action activates dopamine and the motor cortex of the brain. So action is always what we need to do first. It will start to break these old patterns. Journaling is amazing, and all we do is write down every emotion we're feeling. Write them down. It could be depression and anxiety and guilt and shame, and it might be grief. Write them down. Get them out of the head, because we're, instead of pushing them down, which is glutamate, which is withdrawal and aversion, we're using dopamine to take action. We're writing them. We're expressing them. Let them out of the head, and you will have an amazing release, get rid of that glutamate, and so then dopamine can start to rise as well. So journaling, amazing. You've got to do the work if you want the result.
I always say the same thing. If you don't work for it, guess what? Nothing's going to change. Nothing. Yeah. You have to do something, even if it's just getting to the doctor. Get there and get started on medication if you want to, if you have to. But don't sit there and just say, oh, woe is me, life is hard.
And life is hard.
It is.
It is.
It was meant to be, I think.
It's meant to be, because hard is where you learn. You learn zero from easy. Okay, so embrace the hard. Get up, make it harder. And that was heartbreaking for me. So I felt my life was already so hard, I couldn't imagine it getting any harder. So when I realized I had to do hard things every morning if I wanted to be able to do anything at all, I felt grief and heartbreak from just thinking, how the hell am I going to make life harder than this? That is insane. But guess what? I did it, and I started to back myself and go, you know what? I can do hard things. I do trust myself to take things that give me anxiety and walk towards them instead of away. And there are studies that show that avoidance makes anxiety worse, and it's because of dopamine. Because just say we think, oh, I need to drive to the store, but I'm so anxious about that, and then we think, well, I'm not going to go. Okay, so then dopamine goes up, because the thought of the store, it dropped our dopamine, because even our mind raises and drops our dopamine from expectation. So we think, oh, I need to go. But then we think, I'm not going. Dopamine goes up because we just gave ourselves an out. And what happens? We just reinforced anxiety by not doing it. So dopamine rose, so it means we're going to repeat anxiety again. So the way out of anxiety is to go, yes, this feels terrifying, this feels hard, I'm going to go towards it. Even if it's, just do it. Even if it's only a little bit towards it. Even if it's only go and sit in the car for a moment and go, I'm okay. I successfully got into this car and sat. That is a forward movement. You didn't run away. And then the next thing might be, look, I'm going to just start the car, because that's a forward movement, and I'm going to realize that was success. And you go towards challenge to master it. Anything we run away from, it raises glutamate and it makes us feel aversion, and it just rewards inaction.
It's those little voices in your head that say, you're no good. It's always going to come back. You have to sit with it. You have to let it go through your body, and the emotions will stop. Especially if you pay attention. Like what I do is I touch things, and it works pretty good to stay in the moment. Stay in the moment, and nobody can touch you. Because so many people are suffering without needing to suffer. They don't need to suffer. There's enough suffering to go around for everybody.
And the reason for that is because we have such easy access to external dopamine now. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Our ancestors, if they wanted food, they had to get up and hunt it. And then the food, Yeah, the food is the reward. So they had to get up and go hunting or gathering or farming, and then they got their reward. The only
Right.
reason we have such crazy levels of depression, which is just low dopamine, is because we're doing it backwards. We're rewarding inactivity, which means we're going to just get more inactivity and more depression. That's all it is. You only have low dopamine, and you can start changing that right now by pushing it even lower, and then you'll get a rise. So you have the power to change your life, and the lower you've been, the more you have to teach others. So if you've been down to rock bottom and you've spent a long time there, when you come out of that, imagine what you can teach people who are in that situation. We're all here to teach and learn.
Exactly. We have to learn to help each other. We have to learn that we're a network of entities, and if we don't help each other, we're going to hurt each other. We're going to go to war. We're going to do stupid things, in the name of whatever thing you can think of. And that's all crap.
Yeah.
Forget that. I mean, life is very short. So you shouldn't waste your time worrying about, Donald Trump or something else. It's just,
don't let them divide you. Don't let them bring fear. If anyone's bringing fear at you, they're trying to manipulate you. Go towards anything you're afraid of. Don't get sucked into the fear mongering. Live your best life.
And how about go and see a sunrise or a sunset? Why can't we do those things? Why don't we do those things? Why don't we do new things? So it's so possible because I've done it. I am 1,000% better, even though I still have terrible anxiety. I am so much better. It's pathetic. I mean, I just sit there and smile during the day saying, you know what? I'm so much better now. It's so much.
Do you have any
better.
Anxiety right now?
I have anxiety all the time. Not too much now, but, before the podcast and usually during the podcast, I'm good. I get the dopamine. That's what I trained myself to do, to be nervous, and then the dopamine flows. My father did the same thing. I always tell that story about when we went to a Christmas dinner and he was complaining like Scrooge. He was just one after another complaints. We finally got a flat tire. I pulled over on the road. I went to change it. He comes over to me like he's riding a high. And he's like, well, these things happen. So he never realized this. That was the sad part. He never realized that he was creating his own trauma so he could get the high that he needed.
And some people who have been bullied, because our dopamine drops when we're bullied, and they think, well, to raise my dopamine, I have to be the bully because I'll show them and I'll be the one with power. So they go and try and scrape back the self-worth off somebody else who didn't deserve it, because they're too scared to go and put it on the person who put it on them to start with. They go and take it out on the wrong people. But they've found in studies with anger, if we use anger in the moment to solve a problem, it actually activates the side of the brain that's associated with dopamine, which is the left hemisphere. But if we bottle up anger and we go and put it on the wrong person, it doesn't. It goes to the glutamate side of things. So just taking action, like anger is positive if we take action to solve it in the meantime. Like if someone bullied us and we said, excuse me, that's not cool and there's going to be consequences if you do that again, that's solving the problem in the moment, or at least taking some action in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And they'll back off. 99% of bullies will back off. Kids get bullied all the time. They'll back off. Just push them out of the way. And there's so many teenagers today are like, oh my God, I'm getting bullied. But help yourself. I can't stress this enough. I get excited about these things. I came from nothing. I was a bug on the rug. I was destroyed. My whole life was over at 33. And I had no clue. Nobody told me anything. Nobody said, this is why it's happening. And that's why I'm on the air today, because I don't want that to happen again. I'm sort of drawing a line in the sand saying, no more. No. And that's what people have to do. Draw that line for yourself and just say, no more crap. I'm going to do something to help
myself. Take action in the moment. And if you're angry, and acknowledge that you're angry. We have to feel and acknowledge the emotion.
Right.
Otherwise, it turns toxic.
Yeah, and people don't want to feel.
Even write it down, feel it. Yeah. Feel the anxiety. Write down, I am feeling anxious. Now, it's not I am anxious. It's I am feeling anxious, because you are not the anxiety. It's a temporary feeling. I am feeling anxiety. Write it down, even if you have to write it down 20 times until it turns, back to something positive, and sit in it and face it and go, I'm going to explore anxiety. Because I had terrible anxiety, my goodness. And I would sit and explore it and feel it and say, come at me. Where are you? I'm here. Exactly. I'm ready.
Listen, what happens too is when I'm now at a certain point where I feel happy a lot, and they don't like that, so they turn up the volume a little bit.
Oh, the anxiety.
And what I call my demons, the ones that tell me I can't do things. They'll turn it up and also say, okay, you're here. I can't do anything about you. I'll feel the emotion. Mm-hmm. I'll do the things with my hand. And guess what? Before, in the next minute, it's over.
Yeah. Because you went towards it. If you ran from it and said, no, I can't handle it. I've got to go. I'm going to go have a drink. I can't do this. I can't do it, and run away. You get more glutamate. You don't get dopamine. So you say, I'm going to step up. Okay, what have you got? Anxiety, come at me. I'm here. I'm going to face you. I'm going to look you square in the eye. I'm going to feel whatever I have to feel, and I'm the rock here. I'm the strong one. You're just a temporary feeling, and you don't belong here.
You're just a feeling. Yeah, very temporary feeling. And I always remember that scene in Jumanji where Robin Williams faced the guy that was going to kill him with the gun. And he just said, you know what? My father said to face my fears. Mm. And that's what he did. And of course, it turned out good. But that's the only way out is through, and everybody knows that.
Yes, so true. So true. And what you've been doing to bring light to this, I really respect, and I thank you for doing that, because you're from an era. I was born in the 70s.
I'm old, I just.
And we didn't have back then a lot of books or internet to teach us.
Nothing.
You had to dig that path yourself, and then you've shown others the way.
I dug my hole. That's what I dug. I had OCD, ADHD, you name it, I had it. Dyslexia, and I dug a big hole and said, "Let me hide here for a minute." Yeah. And that's wrong. It's not the way to do it. And everybody knows that now, I think. Not everybody, but I'm just saying, take a look at your life, figure out where you're going wrong with yelling and being angry and being a bully or whatever you're doing, and just stop it and just have a good time. And most importantly, be who you are. Mm-hmm. Your authentic self is there. It's saying, hello, notice me. I am you. Yep. And people ignore it. Oh, well, I'm not going to do that because I'm afraid of that. And I understand fear because I'm a big worry ward. Everything I'm a hypochondriac. But you gotta try to move past that kind of a garbage thinking. Yeah. And take over your brain and say, look, I'm not going to think that.
Used to think the worst case scenario all the time until I realized.
That's rehearsals.
Until I realized, wait, I can just choose the best case scenario. It's equally as likely. So now if I think, oh no, this is going to happen, I think, well, what's the opposite? The amazing thing's going to happen. So then I just go, you know what? I'm going to just imagine the amazing thing is more likely, and that's going to happen. And so I use that a lot. I just think, okay, what's the best case scenario? We're going to insert that and work towards that instead. Because why focus on the negatives if I can choose to focus my thoughts?
And people watch these TV shows that are all negative as well. I mean, I was watching some of this NCIS crap. Mm. It's all about, people getting kidnapped and tortured. Mm. We don't need that garbage.
Nah.
In your life. No. It's garbage. Just shut it off. Yeah. And do something that you like. Who are you? You gotta ask yourself, who are you? What do I like? What do I like? Yeah. And then you gotta do it.
What are your dreams and goals?
Yeah.
Set some time aside in the morning to work on one goal that you would like, and then reward your effort afterwards. Even if you sit for half an hour and write, or make a film script, or you do some content, or whatever your dreams are, reward yourself. And then if you did that for half an hour every morning, imagine what you would have at the end of a year.
It's amazing. For 61 years, I had no clue. And then I got into the media, but there was a rapper. I don't know if you know him, NF. He sings just about mental problems. Well, that was like a light going on. It was just like, wait a minute. This guy has the exact same thing I have.
Yeah.
What is that? How come he has this?
Yeah.
And it was validated me to the point where, I said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing he does, in a different way, though. I'm not going to sing rap. I'm going to sing on this microphone as much as I can and tell people that, that they should get up. If you're lying in bed, get the heck up and do something. And you'll be amazed how much you can help yourself, because then you're working from authentic person. You're not this whatever you pretend to be. You're not.
And that rapper inspired you. So you're inspiring others. So if someone's listening to this, if someone's listening to this, imagine if you stood up and spoke your truth or worked through your demons, and other people would see what's possible. They might do the same.
It's a ripple effect. It has to be. We have to learn. We have to learn that the old ways are no good anymore. We're not going to put up with this, mental illness is bad type of thing. They shoot people. We're not going to put up with it. We're going to say there's nothing wrong with feeling. Mm-hmm. I don't want to sing. I will if I have to, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with feeling your feelings. Nothing.
Got to feel those feelings.
And crying. I've lost people on the show because I cried.
Yeah.
And they, well, look at the big baby. He's never going to get better. Guess what? I feel 100% better.
Yeah. And, you got to get it out. Crying just gets it out and lets you move on.
Crying is the way to get every kind of grief that you have out of your system. You're not being a baby. It's the opposite. You're being a baby if you fake who you are. Then you're a baby.
Yeah, 100%.
What else is a baby? I mean, that's the definition of baby. I'm not going to be who I am because I'm afraid that somebody somewhere might not like it. Oh my God, I have to wear bell bottoms. Let's go back to 1970. Everybody wore bell bottoms, and I didn't like them, so I didn't wear them. So.
Yeah, and we're a human. Yeah. We have emotions. We have a complex nervous system, a complex brain. Of course, we're going to feel grief and tragedy and sadness, and we're going to cry sometimes. And then we just get to move on, get that out of our system, and it's natural. And anyone who judges that, I really wonder, are they in touch with themselves if they're going to judge somebody else for showing emotion?
No, they're not. They're not in touch. And I was super abused by a lot of people because they saw a sucker when they could see one. It's like, oh, this guy's off. We're going to pile on him, and even though I'm big, they did it anyway. And it was ridiculous. I was at a job and everybody I was like the punching bag. Come in there and pick on Bob for a while and then go out.
Was too
that's what I used to do.
Abusers can tell if you're too scared to stick up for yourself. They can tell if you're going to be an easy target, and because they're a coward, they know they'll get away with it, and that's all it is. So don't let them. If they do that, make a consequence for them, because if we let people treat us like crap, they unfortunately some people will keep doing it. Most will not, but some will keep doing it because they are the coward.
Exactly. And that's exactly true. And, I could talk about it in blue in the face, but people have to come to it themselves. And hopefully this will help them come to do something for themselves. And I thank you so much. Come on the show, putting up with me. I'm not easy to talk to sometimes.
You're amazing to talk to. You're a great person. I really
I tried
respect
so
you,
hard, but
and I know that you've come so far, and I have a lot of
it's
respect for that.
unbelievable.
And you'll go so much further, and you're bringing other people on the journey. So thank you.
And the good news also is we now have AI. Guess what, dyslexics? It's over. You can put in anything and say, "Give me this memo to send to somebody," and it builds this beautiful memo. They're going to come out. This guy's going to come out with something where you could read as fast as neurotypicals. It's just going to be an AI program that teaches you how to read fast, like neurotypicals, and that's just going to happen. So it's no time like the present. AI is like electricity. We can go on AI. I know some people are scared of it, but you go on there and you say, "Give me that, this, and the other thing," and then it's a guide, it's a helper.
Yes,
I think more than it's taken over. It doesn't want to take over.
No.
It wants to help the human condition.
Well, it's
programmed to do that.
It just spits out whatever we tell it. So if we start telling it amazing things and putting out content where we respect and lift each other up and cooperate and love each other, it's going to spit out more of that. So let's just teach it what we want.
Yeah, and it's an amazing thing. I mean, the world is going to take off with this. I mean, as far as all this technology is going to go crazy, and I'm hoping that all this depression stuff will be yesterday, not today, because we've come a long way, a real long way, but we got a long way to go. And I will do everything I can to get the message out that it sucks, but you can get over it. You can be your authentic. Wouldn't it be nice to get up and be yourself on a Sunday morning instead of what you're telling. Somebody's telling you what to do. Somebody's saying, you got to be this way, or you're not cool, get out of the gang, or whatever. But you really have to examine the friends that you hang out with. You have to go for more people. Maybe you can't find them right now, but there are people out there that feel like you and they're on social media, and maybe you just go and do that.
Yeah.
And forget about these friends that aren't friends. I had plenty of those.
Yep.
And they're dangerous. Forget about them.
Find podcasts like this one where we care deeply about the listeners and each other. Don't go with the negative friends. I'm going to take the weekend for myself and just listen to uplifting people who care. And then you will start to realize you're one of them as well. Like, you're one of us. We care about each other. We're going to do good things in the world. We're going to have optimism.
I care about every 12-year-old who doesn't have a clue of what's wrong with them. Because that was me. That was me. I didn't have a clue. My parents didn't have a clue. Nobody had a effing clue. But now we do. It's over. The damage has been done, whatever. But all of this is over now.
Anything you want to improve in your brain, be it focus, be it dyslexia, be it whatever it is, there's an amazing book by Barbara Arrowsmith-Young called The Woman Who Changed Her Brain. And she started a school for people with learning difficulties, and she taught most of them to have even way, way better abilities than neurotypicals by practicing whatever's the most hard for them. You can change your brain. It's not easy, of course. You need to focus and force your brain to work how you want it to do with reward and effort. But anything you struggle with, you can learn.
And you can learn to live with yourself. And you can learn to love yourself. And that's the most important thing in life, period. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Forget about all this stuff. It doesn't mean a damn thing when you're dying. Who cares? I got all this money. So what? So what? Why is it so important that you have money and things? It's not. Again, you're going after the stuff that is killing you. You go on stuff that you shouldn't have unless you earned it or worked for it and did something for it. And right now we can get whatever we want, and it creates this depression that's over the world. And we're here to stop something like that. And I wish everybody would be like that, but they're not. So I accept it. But
we're getting there. We're getting there. We're working towards optimism.
Yeah, you're never going to see a commercial on this show, ever. So You're never going to hear some garbage. It's always going to be talking about what you can do to help yourself. Not what I can do, what you can do to help yourself and be an authentic person instead of what you are, which in a lot of cases, you're do whatever people tell you to do. I got to do that because it's cool. But guess what? It's really not cool. What's cool is living in your own head and being happy with yourself. Not that I am. I'm just saying it's cool that you are striving. You're striving to achieve mental health, like I say, for real, which I stole from that app. For real.
You'll get there.
And that's it. That's it. And I thank you so much for coming on the show, giving people an out, a way to get better. And, I can't say enough nice things, but please tell us where we go to help ourselves as far as your websites and things like that. You have the final words. I'll leave it to you to come up with whatever you want to say. It's fine.
Yeah, well, you can find my books on dopaminemountain.com and also on Amazon. So if you search under my name, which is Andy Y. West, you'll find 4 different books by me. And there's one with Anhedonia, one about ADHD, and there's Planet Dopamine, the most recent one. So jump into that, have a look at that. If you want a free copy, okay, jump on my website and you'll see my Instagram or Facebook. Just ask me and I'll send you a free copy if you would like one, because I'd rather people have it than think, I can't afford it at the moment and not have it. So just let me know and we'll hook you up.
That's a beautiful. That's really comforting to my ears that somebody else is going to help you for no reason, just because you're a person. Yeah, and that should be enough.
We're all in this together, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big mess, but we have all these techniques now. We have all this knowledge. So
take action.
Let's do it.
One step at a time, baby. We'll all get there. We'll get there.
Again, I thank you for being on the show and just keep doing what you're doing because it's great.
Likewise. Thanks again.
All right. Take care. Bye.